year. Was that an individual goal that you set out for ahead of the season, or do you feel like that just kind of happened naturally?
Well, thank you. And no, I don't really ever set goals based on individual accomplishments. I think individual accomplishments are a signification of great teammates and great people around you, great coaching staff who help you and put you in positions to succeed on the court. So really, every single day, I'm just trying to win the day, trying to compete, trying to get better, trying to lead, trying to gain everybody's respect, and ultimately just trying to do everything it takes to build a winning culture. And I think that was the main focus, and things just happen naturally along the way that you're extremely grateful for, and things that you want to share with the people around you who have helped mold you and help.
Okay, so backers might be trying to take over Caitlin Clark's fan base, huh? It seems like Paige Bueckers just dropped an interview that's got everyone buzzing about Caitlin Clark's upcoming season. I mean, she's talking about getting stronger, adding muscle, and even improving that three-point shot. Fans are immediately drawing those lines to Clark's recent changes. I gotta say, the timing seems a little suspicious. The comparisons are absolutely unavoidable at this point, and this whole thing could reshape the entire conversation about who's really gonna run women's basketball next season. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is Paige really taking shots at Caitlin, or are we just reading too much into a regular off-season interview?
Is there anything that you want to add to your game going into year two? Your bag is already deep, but is there anything you want to work on, or is there a point of emphasis this off season?
I honestly, the easy answer is to say everything, but I feel like there's so many things I want to improve in every single area of my game. So just continue to get stronger, want to live in the paint a little bit more, get to the rim a little bit more, get to the free throw line more.
And how exactly do you get there? Well, Paige Bueckers sat down with USA Today for what should have been just your run-of-the-mill off-season interview, but instead she delivers comments that immediately have people comparing her plans to Caitlin Clark's recent struggles. I'm talking about when Paige mentioned getting her legs back, building muscle endurance, and making sure she can last through entire games in a full season, and fans instantly thought about Caitlin's second season issues. The parallels were just too obvious to ignore. So let's break down what actually went down here. Paige is coming off her rookie year with the Dallas Wings after winning a national championship at UConn, and she snagged Rookie of the Year. I mean, she's clearly got talent, nobody's arguing that. But during this interview, when she was asked what she wants to add to her game going into year two, her answer really raised some eyebrows. She mentioned getting stronger, living in the paint more, getting to the rim, and specifically said she wants to get her legs back and build muscle endurance so she can last through an entire long season.
Just get my legs back, get my strength back, muscle endurance, so that I can last through an entire long season, last through an entire 4 quarters of a game, and then just continue to work on my mid-range and how to get to my spots in different ways. So yeah, kind of all that to say everything.
That last part is where things got super interesting. Caitlin Clark, as we know, famously added a significant amount of muscle mass before her second WNBA season, and it totally threw off her game. Her shooting percentages dropped. Those signature deep threes weren't falling at the same rate, and she just looked different out there on the court. A lot of analysts and fans said her struggles were directly because that added muscle affected her shooting touch and overall conditioning. So when Paige mentioned getting her legs back and building muscle endurance, boom, people immediately made that connection. Now the question is whether Paige was deliberately referencing Caitlin's situation, or if this is just fans stirring up drama where there isn't any. On one hand, every professional athlete talks about getting stronger in the off-season. It's basically standard procedure. Players want to build their bodies so they can handle the physical demands of a long season. So there's nothing really unusual about that goal. But on the other hand, the specific language Paige used about getting her legs back and making sure she can last through a full season really echoes exactly what people were saying Caitlin needed after her muscle building experiment went wrong. Paige also mentioned wanting to improve her three-point shooting. Again, that's totally normal for a basketball player. Everyone wants to shoot better, but think about this. In the context of Caitlin Clark being known as one of the best shooters in women's basketball history, it kind of reads like Paige is positioning herself as the next great shooter, like she's coming for that crown. Whether she meant it that way or not, that's how fans are seeing it. And the timing of this interview, it's worth looking at. Paige just wrapped up her rookie season. Caitlin just finished her second season with mixed results after a phenomenal rookie year. Paige is getting all that positive press right now, while Caitlin's facing questions about whether she can bounce back. The contrast couldn't be more stark. Paige is that rising star, one rookie of the year, seems to have endless potential, while Caitlin is the established star who might be dealing with a sophomore slump. Some fans are even accusing Paige of deliberately trying to take over Caitlin's fan base. I mean, there's this whole narrative that Paige sees an opportunity to become the face of women's basketball, while Caitlin is vulnerable. The evidence for this theory is pretty thin, but that hasn't stopped people from running with it. Every interview Paige does is getting analyzed for hidden meanings. Every social media post gets scrutinized for shade, and honestly it's getting a bit ridiculous. So here's the reality. Paige Bueckers is trending more than Caitlin Clark in some circles, and that bothers Caitlin. They're used to their player dominating every single conversation about women's basketball. Now there's some real competition for attention, and they don't know how to handle it, so they're looking for reasons to paint Paige as the villain. They want to believe she's actively campaigning against Caitlin when she's probably just focused on her own development. I mean, the interview itself covered a lot more than just her training plan. Paige talked about how nice it feels to finally have an off-season after playing basketball for almost a whole year. She discussed missing the game and being refreshed when she returns, and she reflected on her 23rd year being one of the most peaceful and joyful of her life. She talked about staying present and enjoying experiences. And none of that really has anything to do with Caitlin Clark. But the internet doesn't care about context. The internet wants drama. So fans pulled out those specific quotes about muscle building and conditioning and decided Paige was sending a message. They compared her approach to Caitlin's mistake. They suggested Paige learned from watching Caitlin struggle, and they positioned this as some kind of strategic rivalry when it's probably just two talented players trying to be the best they can be. Paige also talked about returning to UConn and being a practice player for her former team. She joked about being on the Red Squad, that's the practice team, and not having to worry about getting yelled at by Coach Gino Auriemma anymore. She mentioned trash-talking her practice teammates when they weren't locked in. This was all lighthearted and fun, but even this got twisted into some narrative about Paige showing competitive fire that supposedly contrasts with Caitlin's recent struggle. The Rookie of the Year conversation is another place where these comparisons are happening. Paige won the award after her first season with Dallas. Caitlin won it the year before with Indiana, and both deserve their awards. Both had killer rookie seasons, but now that Paige has the same accolade, fans are using it as another data point in their imaginary rivalry. They're setting up a situation where these two players have to be enemies, even though they've never shown any animosity toward each other. When asked about individual accomplishments, Paige gave a really diplomatic answer. She said she doesn't set goals based on individual achievements, because those awards are really about having great teammates and coaching staff around you. She said her main focus is trying to win each day, compete, get better, lead, and build a winning culture. That's exactly what you're supposed to say. It's humble, it's team-oriented, but some fans interpreted it as a subtle dig at Caitlin for supposedly being too focused on individual stats. I mean, that interpretation is just absurd. Caitlin has never been accused of being a selfish player. She's always been a willing passer who makes her teammates better, and she broke college basketball records for assists, not just scoring. But hey, when you're determined to see rivalry and shade, you're gonna find it anywhere. So Paige's comments about team success being more important than individual awards somehow became ammo for fans who want to pit these two players against each other. Now Paige's discussion about handling adversity is actually really mature. She talked about coming off a national championship where you're on top of the world and then joining a Dallas Wings team that didn't have immediate success. She emphasized staying disciplined in her habits, regardless of whether the team wins or loses. She talked about being process-oriented instead of results-oriented, and she mentioned staying unconditionally committed, even through bumps and bruises. That's a pretty good perspective for a young player. But again, fans found ways to make it about Caitlin. They suggested Paige was taking shots at how Caitlin handled her team's struggles, and they read subtext that probably doesn't exist. They turned a thoughtful answer about personal growth into evidence of some grand strategy to dethrone Caitlin in women's basketball. It's exhausting, the sports psychologist mentioned. That's interesting. Paige revealed she's been working with one for about 2 years now, and she credited this person with helping her frame things positively and stay present focused. Mental health and mental training are becoming more accepted in sports, and it's good to see a high-profile player talking openly about it. But of course, some fans use this as another comparison point with Caitlyn, suggesting one player handles pressure better than the other. And when Paige talked about what she wants to add to her game, she gave a pretty comprehensive answer. She wants to get stronger, she wants to live in the paint more, and get to the rim. She wants to get to the free throw line more often. She wants to improve her three-point shooting. She wants to work on her mid-range game. Basically, she wants to improve everything. And that's normal. Every player should want to develop every aspect of their game, but because she specifically mentioned getting her legs back and building muscle endurance, fans fixated on that. And the comparison to Caitlyn's muscle building experiment is somewhat fair. I mean, Caitlyn clearly added too much bulk before her second season, and it affected her performance. Her shot wasn't falling like it used to. She looked slower on the court, and she seemed uncomfortable in her own body. By the end of the season, there were even questions about whether she'd lose some of that muscle mass before the next year. So Paige's comments about wanting to get her legs back and ensure she has the endurance to last a full season do seem to acknowledge what happened to Caitlyn. But acknowledging something isn't the same as attacking someone. Paige might have watched Caitlyn's struggles and learned from them. And that's smart, not malicious. Every player should study what works and what doesn't for their peers. So if Paige saw that adding too much muscle too quickly can hurt your game, and she's planning to avoid that mistake, good for her. That's called being intelligent about your career. Now, the narrative that Paige is trying to steal Caitlyn's fan base is particularly weird. I mean, fans aren't a limited resource that only one player can have. Multiple players can be popular at the same time. Women's basketball benefits when there are multiple stars generating interest, and the sport grows when there are compelling personalities and talents across different teams. Creating artificial rivalries might generate social media engagement, but it doesn't really help the game long term. Paige's comments about staying level-headed and maintaining perspective, they're actually really valuable. She talked about her faith in believing everything happens for a reason. She mentioned being grateful even for injuries and adversity, and she discussed unconditional gratitude in the moment. This is some mature thinking that probably comes from dealing with her own injury struggles at UConn. I mean, she missed significant time during her college career and had to work through rehabilitation and doubt, and that experience definitely shaped her perspective. The question about expectations for UConn this season gave Paige another chance to show her team-first mentality. She talked about carrying the same mentality as last year, focusing on winning the day rather than looking ahead to championship goals. She emphasized staying present and building good habits, and she mentioned handling adversity, successes, and failures together as a team. This is leadership language. This is someone who understands what it takes to build something meaningful. When asked about specific UConn players she's excited to watch, Paige highlighted KK Arnold taking over the point guard role. She talked about KK learning from Nika Mule, Paige herself, and from other veterans, and she expressed excitement about seeing KK lead in her own unique way. That shows Paige is thinking about developing the next generation even as she focuses on her own WNBA career. That's the mark of someone who cares about the program beyond just their own success. The truth is, this interview was a fairly standard off-season conversation with a young professional athlete. Paige talked about her experiences, her goals, her mindset, and her approach to improvement. She gave thoughtful answers, she showed maturity, and she demonstrated the kind of perspective that usually comes from more experienced players. The fact that fans immediately started connecting her comments to Caitlin Clark says more about fan behavior than it does about Paige's intention. Social media has created this environment where everything gets interpreted as shade or rivalry. Players can't just talk about their own goals without it being framed as a shot at someone else. Paige wants to get stronger. She must be referencing Caitlin's mistake. Paige wants to improve her shooting. She must be coming for Caitlin's crown. Paige is getting media attention. She must be trying to steal Caitlin's spotlight. It's kind of ridiculous. The truth is probably much simpler. Paige Bueckers is a talented basketball player who just finished a successful rookie season and wants to be even better in year 2. She's identified areas of her game that need improvement. She's being smart about how she approaches physical development, and she's working on her mental game. I mean, she's doing exactly what any professional athlete should do during the off-season. The fact that her comments can be compared to Caitlin Clark's recent experiences doesn't mean that was her intention. But whether Paige meant to reference Caitlin or not, this interview has everyone picking sides. The women's basketball world loves creating rivalries that might not actually exist, so if you think Paige is coming for Caitlyn's throne, smash that like button, subscribe for more basketball drama and analysis, and drop a comment with your prediction for both players next season.